Alright, cool beans. Hope you guys did enjoy that small montage. I'm Hex. I'm finally going to be going over my StamArcanist build for the Necrom patch. Yes, finally, 2 weeks later, console finally got the Arcanist. And honestly, at first I was not liking the Arcanist. I'll just admit it right now. But I changed up one skill, and honestly, I have been loving Arcanist. Now, my Arcanist feels amazing. I love the class. It's one of the most fun things I've ever done. Arcanist itself doesn't do much damage, but it has such great utility and survivability. This is one of the cheesiest survivability classes in the entire game. Imagine if you could get a Breath of Life heal with a 10k shield on top of it that also gives you a 6k shield afterwards. Imagine that. That's basically what you can do with Arcanist if played right. This class is just insane. It does a lot of damage with its passives, not with its actual abilities itself, but just the passives that increase other damage abilities. It's just really nice. And just fair warning, this will be more of a longer video, so if you are more of a beginner player or don't understand how any of this works, I will be going over that more towards the end of the video, so do expect more longer in-depth video. But before we get started, if you guys hit the subscribe and like button, it really goes a long way and I greatly do appreciate it. Also leave a comment what video I should do next. Follow me on Twitch. But without further ado, let's crux our way into the build. So before we go over the skills, I just want to quickly mention that we will be going more in depth into the skills and what crux are towards the end of the video. So if you are wondering what any of this means, stick around to the end of the video and I'll go exactly over possibly any questions you might have about what are crux, how do you generate them, what do they do you consume them, this, all that. I will explain that more to the end of the video, so stick around. So if you have any questions after this section, finish the whole video and I will explain it at the end and it will all hopefully make sense. Alright, so for the first skill we do run Tentacular Dread. This is the magic morph of the Abyssal Impact. Now you might be saying, aren't we expecting the stam? Yes, we are expecting the stam, but ever since the hybridization patch, it doesn't matter if it costs mag or stam, if you're expecting the mag or stam, it all does the same scaling, it doesn't matter. So with this ability, it does a line damage AoE in front of you, and this morph does magic damage. Enemies are rooted for 3 seconds and marked with Abyssal Ink, making them take 5% damage. So what this morph does, the magic morph, it increases the damage they take from the Abyssal Ink, so for all our damage, and it also increases the damage up to 60%. You could run the stam morph, that way it's not as painful on your mag, and you are able to spam your mag skills and survive like that, and you are able to heal when you cast it, so you could run either morph. I would say if you're more of a beginner player, I would probably stick with the stam morph, and if you're more of an advanced player or want to get better with Arcanist and burst people into oblivion, I would go with this morph. Just a side note, this skill does have a 0.3 second cast time, so if I cast this skill and block, it cancels the attack. You see that? It doesn't go off. Unlike spin, if I click the button and block, it goes off. If I hit the button, I have to wait and then it goes off. So if I hit this ability and try to bar swap, it won't bar swap until the ability goes off. Unlike spin and win, if I hit the button and bar swap, see that? It instantly bar swap. So just keep that in mind. Next skill we do run Rune of the Colorless Pool. This is a pretty nutty skill. This is basically our stun. You mark a target, after 1 second, they get stunned for 4 seconds. What this morph does, it puts Minor Vuln and Minor Brittle for 20 seconds. This ability cannot be dodged. So the way to counter this ability, so if there's an enemy Arcanist hitting you and the skill's about to go off, block it. Yes, you are able to block it. It is a stun, not a fear, therefore it is blockable. If you want to run the other morph, the one that makes them run towards you, that's actually not a bad morph. Next skill we do run Runic Thunder. This is what I would consider your flex spot. You can run almost anything here. What I like about this skill, it does damage, whatever. The main thing, you steal 2200 armor and put minor maim on the target for 15 seconds. You steal 2200 armor, so you reduce the enemy's armor by 2200 and you increase your armor by 2200. Really good for being tanky and penetration on the target. But honestly, if you don't want to run the skill, you can run anything you want here. Some more popular ones would probably be, you know, Camo Hunter, get that minor berserk. You could run Caltrops here to get major fracture on the build. Either one is fine. You can replace it for anything you want. I just like this skill, and it's really, really cheap. Look at that, under 1400 stam, really, really cheap. Next skill we do run Rending Slashes. This is our kind of I guess you could get a spammable slash dot. This thing on its own doesn't do much damage, but if you pair it with the arena weapon, which I'm pretty sure you already know, but if you don't know, stick around to the sets and I'll go exactly over what we're running. With this build, it does 2148. This is unbuffed, by the way. Damage with each weapon, so we do that times 2 and puts an okay dot afterwards. The thing is, with the arena weapons, we're doing an extra 1635 with every damage tick, so double damage tick because they hit twice with weapons, and every bleed tick. Bleeds tick every 2 seconds, so we're doing an extra over 16k damage over this. So this is basically an over 26k damage tick right here we're putting on a target. And what this morph does, the initial hit always puts hemorrhaging on target, putting a small dot on them and putting minor mangle, reducing their max health by 10%, and this morph also reduces the enemy movement speed by 30%. So really, really good for locking them down, especially for the ultimate we run on this build, which I'll get into in a little bit. Next skill we do run Whirling Blades. This is basically our spammable slash execute. When you know they're below half health, you start spamming this skill and you're gonna catch a lot of people off guard because this skill is undodgeable. Yes, you can't dodge it. What's gonna happen is you CC somebody, they're gonna break CC and try to roll dodge, and guess what? You can't roll dodge it, and you're gonna catch so many people like that. And for our ultimate, we do run the Tide King's Gaze. This is honestly a really, really insane ultimate. A little expensive, 179 at stage 3 Vamp, but this thing does a ridiculous amount of damage, especially if you're able to burn someone's stam. You will melt people. So basically, to use this skill, you actually have to cast it on a target. Yes, you have to cast this on a target, and it's 15-meter range. So when you cast this on a target, it beams down, like an eyeball beams down on the target, and it hits them in an AoE around them, so other enemies can get hit every 0.5 seconds. So what this morph does, it follows the target, and if the initial target runs away or dies, which more than likely they're gonna die from this thing, it will actually search for another target, which is really, really good. This is honestly a really, really nutty ultimate. It does a lot of damage. It feels great. It's just, especially if they have no stamina, they're rooted, good night. But obviously, if you want to put Dawnbreaker there, perfectly fine. I just like the other one. Dawnbreaker is cheaper and gives you way more passives. So for our back bar, we do run Race Against Time. Obviously, this is our snare muted that just happens to get Major Expedition and Minor Force. Next, we do run Crux Weaver Armor. This is the Arcanist armor buff. Thankfully, this thing lasts 30 seconds because a lot of skills last like 20 seconds. Stam Sword, DKs, even Templar armor buffs only last 20 seconds. This one lasts 30, thank you. So this is basically how we get Major Resolve on the build. While active, this armor puts a minor breach on targets for 6 seconds when they attack you. And what this morph does, blows against your armor also generate Crux up to once every 5 seconds. So yes, every 5 seconds if we get hit, we generate 1 Crux, which is really, really good. Next skill we do run, Resolve and Vigor. Obviously, this is our burst hot, heals out over 5 seconds, and grants us minor resolve. And next skill we do run is Impervious Rune Ward. This is the most cheesiest and best skill Arcanist has in its kit. I'm going to say right now, if you are not running this skill, you are more than likely not enjoying your Arcanist. Trust me. I did not run this. I was being stubborn. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it out. And honestly, this was the most broken skill I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, let's just go over it. So what this morph does, you basically get 2 shields. A 1-second shield that absorbs up to 20k damage. So basically half this. So half in PvP. So a 10k damage shield for 1 second, which is really, really good. You might be saying that's it. The thing is, if that shield lasts, you get another shield for 6k damage for 5 seconds. And more than likely, they're not going to break your shield in 1 second. It's not going to happen. So you're more than likely going to get that second shield. So if that first shield's at 1 HP, guess what? You're going to get a 6k shield for free. There you go. It also reflects some damage, but the main thing you have to realize is this bottom part. Consume Crux to heal yourself for 3464 health per Crux. So you cast a skill at 3 Crux, you get an over 10k heal, which can crit, and you get a 10k shield, and then you get a 6k shield. So you basically get a 16k shield with a fat heal. Imagine if you could get our Breath Alive with a 10k shield. Imagine that. Imagine how broken that would be. That is why this skill is so broken. honestly, if you are not running this skill, just trust me, run it. You will start loving your Arcanist. Next skill we do run Evolving Runeman. This is basically our burst heal. Basically, it says heal 3 times, but it's kind of just like imagine a Breath of Life did 3 ticks instantly, like doom, doom, doom. That's pretty much how it is. I like to run this morph because it does put a hot on you. You know, I play solo, so I need all the heals I can get. If you want to run the Minor Heroism, go ahead. The other morph, perfectly fine. This one, every time you heal yourself also, you also generate Crux, which is really cool. And each Crux also reduces the cost of his ability by 3%. So up to a 9% cost reduction, which is really, really nice. It's kind of weird that this is more of your burst heal than this. You heal with this, and then you burst heal with it. It's weird. It's just weird. And for our ultimate, on our back bar, it is another broken skill. This is honestly one of the most cracked ultimates in the entire game. Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea. This is honestly just beyond bonkers. A bit pricey at 184, kind of cheap for what it does. So basically you gather the strength of a so basically you put a shield around yourself that absorbs up to 80k damage, but it only absorbs 60% of the damage you take. Over half the damage goes to the shield, and less than half the damage goes to your health. The thing is, you have to realize this thing absorbs so much, and with mitigation and resistances, we're taking very, very little damage with this thing. When the shield collapses, whether it times out or it completely gets drained, you lash out, dealing magic damage to enemies within 5 meters over 10 seconds. So when this thing expires out, you're doing 80k damage in 10 seconds around you. So you're basically doing 8k damage in an AoE around you, which is beyond bonkers, just straight up bonkers. This makes you so tanky to where you can turn and burn. You can be I've been at half health before in so many fights, and they cannot kill me because this shield is just not preventing me. I pop a vigor, pop the skill, and I am basically immortal. They keep trying to, they see me below half health and they're like, oh, he's almost dead, commit, and guess what, I'm committing on them. They don't realize they're one shot, they get stunned and then instantly burst into oblivion. It's really good for defensive and that beautiful turn and burn. All right, but enough of that. Let's go over the stat sheets. So for our stat sheets, so for both bars, we do have 16.5k max mag, just shy of 31k max health, which actually can go over 31k health if you do run Orzhaka Smoke Bear Haunch. For our max stem, we do have over 23k, and our recuv on our back bar, since we do actually have more recuv on the back bar, mag recuv just shy of 1600, and our stam recuv is over 2700 on this build. Just insane, yes. So for our weapon and spell damage, we actually do have to be in PvP to proc a certain set. I'm pretty sure we all know exactly what set that is. Weapon damage just shy of 4800, and our weapon crit is at 33.8%, almost 34% chance of critting. And our physical and spell penetration is over 9k. So in order to get the full resist, we actually are going to have to cast Runic Sun under Steel 2200 armor, and now with that, look at that, spell resist over 31k, and our physical resist is over 30k, and our crit resist is at 3732. But now everybody wants to see the fully proc damage with Battle Orcs. Look at that, weapon damage over 5600, and our penetration is just shy of 2100, and like I said earlier, that can go up by an extra over 5k because of Minor Breach and a unique 2200 armor steal. Just insane damage. So for the attributes, we do have 24 points in health and 40 points in the stam. For the food, we do run Jewel of the Mistral. For the Mundus, we do run the Serpent. Honestly, if you are starting off with Arcanist, I would highly recommend the Serpent, just to kind of get you familiar with the build and everything. But now, honestly, I'm going to swap this to the Thief. So if you are more of an advanced player, you can swap this to the Thief and you probably won't feel any sustain issues at all. And obviously, we are a stage 3 vampire for one simple passive. Undeath. The lower health we are, the tankier we become. And for my race, I am an Imperial. Imperial, in my opinion, is hands down the best open world stam race out there. We get access to Tough, increase our max health by 2k, the most max health from a racial passive. Imperial Metal, increase our max stam by 2k. And Red Diamond reduces the cost of all our abilities, mag, stam, health, ultimates, and core combat skills. That includes blocking, roll dodging, and CC breaking, all cost 6% less. So this basically almost negates the negative effect of being a stage 3 vampire. So some great alternatives, Orc could be really good, Dark Elf could be okay, Khajiit could be really good actually. We do have high crit on this build. Anything else, I'd kind of maybe stay away from, to be honest. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the sets now. Alright, so for the first set we do run the blessing that is Rallying Cry. Honestly, Rallying Cry is just a completely bonkers set. especially if you're solo or small scale, like incredibly great. 2 lines of crit already got me sold. It does grant a line of max mag, which is, it's unfortunate, but whatever. You have to realize the 5-piece basically has 2 5-pieces. While Battle Spirit is active, so basically anytime you're able to kill a player, Battle Spirit is active, you and up to 11 group members gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1650 crit resist. That is 25% damage reduction from the bonus damage of crits. The thing is, you can also put this on allies around you for a reduced potency, and I mean very little, like what? Reduce the potency by 15 weapon and spell damage and 83 crit resist for each target. So if you heal this or 1 or 2 buddies, that's still over like 800 weapon and spell damage between the both of you. Like that's insane. It's kind of insane. Damage, tankiness, and back barbel. What more do you want? So for our monster set, we do run the powerhouse that is Balorghs. Obviously, Balorghs is the heavy hitting ultimate monster set you want to run. When you drop an ultimate, you're committing to the burst, and guess what? Balorghs is going to help you commit to that burst. Being able to get up to 500 weapon and spell damage and over 11k penetration on a target, just amazing. And you can turn and burn to a different target if you really wanted to too. So on this build, there actually is no trainee or mythic. Crazy, huh? We actually do run an arena weapon. And what arena weapon is that? Obviously, I'm pretty sure you already know what it is. That obviously is the Master's Perfected Dual Wield. Obviously, non-perfected, perfectly fine. All the perfected does is grants you 2.5% crit. That's it. Now, perfected or non-perfected, but the main thing you want from this, twin slashes deal 1635 more damage for each hit of the initial attack and bleed. So like I said earlier, rending slashes actually double hits you initially. You're basically doubling your bleed damage, and it does so much damage, so much pressure. Obviously, but like I said earlier, non-perfected, perfectly fine. And for the last set we do run the cheese that is Way of the Fire. Honestly, Way of the Fire is just full cheese. When you deal damage with a weapon, whether that be a light attack, ability, or even a bleed, you deal an additional flame damage. On this build, 2748 flame damage with a 2-second cooldown. Yes, that is a ridiculously low cooldown. That is insane pressure. This thing can crit, and if it crits on a vampire, rest in peace, it's gonna do some damage. And this can also proc burning, which is really good. You see what I mean? The thing about this, guess what? Rending does bleed damage every 2 seconds, and this thing's on a 2-second cooldown. So when you proc, so every time your rending does damage, you're basically doing over 5k damage every 2 seconds. Alright, but now how do we run this build? So for the front part, we do run the Master's Perfected Maces. Obviously, non-perfected, perfectly fine. One with the poison damage enchant, and one with the flame damage enchant. Nirnhorn on the main hand, and Sharpen on the offhand. Please make the main hand Nirnhorn, it makes a difference. So for the back bar, we do run the Rallying Cry Resto with an onslaught enchant and defending, because tankiness is next to godliness. And for the body, we do run 3-2-2. Yes, 3-2-2. Unfortunately, I had to run it like this. So we do run 3 heavy, 2 medium, 2 light. So we do run a medium Balorgh's Helm, heavy chest of the fire, medium shoulders of Balorgh's, a light sash and hands of Rallying Cry, and heavy legs and feet of the fire. For the traits, 6 M-Pen, 1 reinforced. Yes, 6 M-Pen, 1 reinforced. The only reinforced I have is a heavy reinforced chest of the fire, and the rest M-Pen. But obviously, if you want some more heavy reinforced pieces, go ahead. If you want some well fitted, go ahead. That's what I like about builds. We fit to our playstyle. For the enchants, all tri-stats. If you can't do that, tri-stat the big pieces. What I mean by that is head, chest, and legs. And if you can't do that, max damage perfectly fine. Just adjust your health attributes at the end. And for the jewelry, we do run a necklace of the fire, Rallying Cry ring, and a ring of the fire. On this build, I am running 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused. Yes, 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused. I do run 1 bloodthirsty with a stam recap. Honestly, you could probably change this to a weapon damage enchant if you really wanted to. Now that I figured out the build, honestly, I'm probably gonna go full weapon spell damage on this build. But for now, if you are more of a beginner player, I would recommend a stam recap on here. And then the rest, all weapon and spell damage enchants, preferably the ones that grant stam recap. But obviously, if you have some or all with mag recap, would or make or break the build. So we do have an infused weapon and spell damage and a bloodthirsty weapon and spell damage. For the food, we do run good old orbs, Jewels of Mistral. Gives us a lot of max health and recall of everything, saying that purple food is perfectly fine. But obviously, if you got deep pocket or don't mind spending a little extra, Orzhov Smoke Bear Haunch. Gives you about 400 more max health and like 12 more recall of everything. And for the pots, we do run weapon damage crit pots. Yes. So this is how we get our 20% weapon damage and our 12% crit on this build. And they synergize as well because it also gives us stamina, which gives us a good burst for our main pool and recup of it. You can either craft them yourself or you can just buy the ones from the AP vendors. They do the exact same thing. And obviously always have tripod slotted just in case. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the CP now. For the blue CP, we do run Fighting Finesse, increases our critical damage and critical healing. What I like about this, it gives us both offense and defense. Offense because we do more damage, and defense because we heal more. Focus Mending, this is basically one of our defensive CPs, increases our healing done with single target heals, which is basically our whole kit. Next we do run Ironclad, this is our defensive CP, reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks. And for the last CP, I would consider your flex spot. You can run almost anything you want here. Deadly Aim to make your single target like Way of the Fire, your bleeds do more damage. Or you could run Wrathful Strikes. Honestly, I'm kind of on the fence on both of these, but you could honestly run either one. For the red CP, typical Seal of Approval red Hex CP. Celerity increases our movement speed by 10%. Honestly, in my opinion, the best CP in the entire game. Survival Instincts, great for our stamp sustain. Relentless Being Stunned or Fear causes to gain major protection for 3 seconds. And Pain's Refuge, the more net effects we have acting on us, the tankier we become. And for the green CP, I mean, it doesn't ever really matter. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. Alright, but enough of that, let's go more over the Arcanist now. Alright, so watching the video earlier, you might have been wondering, what are cruxes? What do you mean by crux? So cruxes are basically ways to improve your kit. And there's 3 options for cruxes. There's crux generators, crux consumers, and crux benefits. So the way to generate crux, there are certain skills. So Evolve and Rumen, anytime you cast a skill, you always generate a crux. Our armor buff, Crux Weaver Armor. This is what I would consider a part-time crux generator because it only generates crux every time we take damage every 5 seconds. And the other morph of Tentacular Dread always generates the crux. So you can get a third one to generate crux like that. But now you've been wondering, what do you do with cruxes? Well, there's 2 things you can either do with cruxes. You can either benefit from the cruxes or you can consume the cruxes to do some insane things. Perfect example for this one is Tentacular Dread. So for each crux you consume, up to a max of 3, you increase the damage of this ability by 20% and damage to foes drenched in Abyssal Ink by 2%. So if we have 3 full cruxes on this and we cast a skill, we put 11% damage taken from them from us. And we also do 60% bonus damage with this ability. The thing is, it does consume our crux. Another perfect example is Impervious Ward. So for each crux we have, we heal for over 3,400. So at full cruxes, we heal for over 10k. And the last one is Crux Beneficiaries, which is kind of weird. Evolving generates and benefits from crux. For each active crux, reduces the cost of this ability by 3%. So at full crux, you reduce the cost of this ability by 9%, and it doesn't consume the crux, which is really, really good. Now you might be saying, why would you want to consume cruxes? Well, there's a few reasons why you want to consume cruxes. Not only will you make your ability stronger, there are also some beautiful passives, most notably Faded Fortune. Anytime you generate a crux, you increase your critical damage and critical healing by 12% for 7 seconds. That is insane. The thing is, once you're capped out on crux 3, you don't generate anymore and you won't be proccing this at all anymore. So this is how we keep proccing this so we can be tankier by healing more or just doing ridiculous amounts of damage. You also regenerate your max resource every time you generate a crux. And for each crux you have active, increases your healing by 3% up to a max of 9%, because why not? So you have to see, so for Arcanist, you kind of have to find that beautiful blend of, you know, saving your crux up for either for a burst combo to save yourself defensively, or just overall just keep the cruxes so you're able to just sustain. So what I like about my build though, it's perfect. You want to go offensive, you pop Tentacular Dread and you're going to do some insane damage. The thing is, you don't have to pop the skill if you don't want to. You want to save your crux to be defensive? Go ahead, save it for Impervious Rune Ward and bait a lot of people like that. The thing about this skill, you don't actually have to have cruxes to cast the skill. If you just cast the skill, you're putting 5% bonus damage on them, so why not just cast it normally? You really think you're going to burst someone down, pop Tentacular Dread, and you will more than likely burst them down. Or if you run the StamMorph, guess what? You'll have all your cruxes for your defensive and you'll be unkillable. I mean unkillable. You'll be healing with the ability, you'll generate a crux, always have full crux for this skill, and just do insane amounts of damage. But yeah, I hope that does answer a few questions. The only way to understand is just to play the class yourself. Just play it a bit more, just understand your limitations of what you can and can't do. So for Arcanist, let's just buff up real quick. Obviously always buff up. So whenever I light attack this target right there, boom. So if I cast my heal, get a crux. Cast it again, get a crux. Cast it again, get a crux. So in order to generate cruxes, you have to be in combat. But once you leave combat, you actually don't lose your cruxes. They're there forever unless you teleport somewhere. So now we're at full cruxes. And if I were to pop my Impervious Ward, look at that, an 11k heal. Let's see how much we can crit this for. Look at a 20k crit heal. Are you insane right now? And perfect. Now that we consumed our cruxes, you see at the little bottom right there, the little Arcanist bloody symbol. Guess what? We're doing 12% bonus damage with crits and crit healing. So there you go. Say I'm ready to go by my target. Have him dotted up. Boom. Have everything on him. Let's just say I got full cruxes. Obviously, hit him with this. Have your runic thunder. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna rending them into a fear ultimate tentacles and spin the win. And honestly, you will be catching a lot of targets off guard like that. It is just insane damage. They'll be snared from this, so they won't be able to move far. They'll get rooted, so they have to roll dodge. Because if they don't have to stand the roll dodge, well, that beam is just gonna melt them. And there you go. Pretty much simple as that. But let's say you're getting pressured heavily. Don't worry. You'll be generating crux from your armor. You'll also be generating crux from your heal. So before you cast this shield, before you cast your Impervious Rune Ward, always hit Evolving Rune Man. It gives you an extra crux for an extra heal, and guess what? It puts a small hot, and there you go. Cast the skill, get a big shield, get a big heal, and honestly, just run circles on targets, and just keep casting the stam skill here and there. So just know that you're casting the stam skill, the stam heal, and the magic shield as your heal. It's a little weird, trust me, but once you get used to the cruxes, it becomes second nature. So if you are more of a beginner player, I would highly recommend sticking to the stam morph. But if you're more of an advanced player and want to do some cheeky stuff with Arcanist, then I would recommend trying out this skill. Might be a little weird at first, trust me, but once you get used to it, this will make you a better player. But alright, cool beans, that's the build. Hope you guys did enjoy it. A bit of a longer video because the Arcanist is obviously a new class, and they introduced a new class mechanic basically with cruxes, where you can either consume them to make them powerful. You generate cruxes where you can either make your abilities passively stronger or consume the crux to make them incredibly strong. So yeah, honestly, the Arcanist is really good. The only thing I would say is please, please, please run Impervious Rune Ward and learn how to play around that. Learn how to generate your cruxes. And honestly, you will not regret it. Once you put that skill on, if you were running it, you will start loving your Arcanist. I promise you that. But as always, for those that are still sticking around to the end of the video, I greatly do appreciate you. Why not consider hitting that subscribe and like button? It really does go a long way, and I greatly do appreciate it. Also, I've been streaming on Twitch, so if you guys ever want to see me play live, but mostly get Zerged over live, go follow me over there. And for those that truly want to support me even further, I have opened up a Patreon. But as always, hope you did enjoy the video. Like the video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts or experience with the build. Also, anything I might have missed, what video I should do next. Subscribe for more. But most importantly, stay Zerging.